Why do new religions keep being invented? It's a simple question that opens a very deep door. If gods are eternal and truth is absolute, why do we keep changing the story? Why does every generation seem to invent its own version of the divine, or reinterpret what came before it? Humanity has created thousands of religions across history, each claiming to hold the truth, each offering salvation, comfort, or meaning. And yet none of them have ever been final. None have ever been universally accepted. Even when one religion becomes dominant, it eventually fractures, evolves, and gives birth to something new. From the outside, it might look like chaos, but there's a pattern here. Every new religion is born out of human need. It doesn't fall from the sky. It grows from the soil of our psychology, from the fears, hopes, and longings that define what it means to be human. When early humans looked up at the night sky, they didn't see stars. They saw ancestors, spirits, and gods. When lightning struck a tree, they didn't see electricity. They saw divine anger. Every mysterious force became a story, and every story became a belief. Religion began as an explanation for the unexplainable, but it quickly became something more. It gave structure to communities, rules to live by, and a sense that someone or something was watching over them. That instinct to assign meaning never left us. Even though science has explained much of what ancient people once feared, our emotional world hasn't evolved at the same pace as our intellectual one. We still crave meaning, we still want to belong, and we still want to believe that our lives are part of something larger than ourselves. That's why even today, people continue to invent new religions. A new religion is rarely created out of nothing. It's usually a reaction, a response to dissatisfaction with the old. When people feel that existing systems no longer speak to their reality, new ones are born. Think about the Roman Empire in the 1st century. It was powerful but spiritually fragmented. There were countless gods, endless rituals, and no deeper moral direction. Out of that confusion, Christianity emerged, offering a clear narrative about love, equality, and salvation. It spoke to the poor, the enslaved, and the marginalized. It promised that suffering had purpose and that death was not the end. It filled a psychological gap that Roman paganism could not. Fast forward to the 19th century, a time of scientific discovery, industrial revolution, and growing secularism. As traditional Christian authority weakened, new spiritual movements appeared. The spiritualist movement, for example, claimed to contact the dead through seances. Theosophy blended Eastern and Western philosophies into a mystical system. Both promised new ways to connect with the unseen in an age when the old ways felt outdated. The pattern is clear. Whenever society changes faster than its spiritual systems can adapt, people start creating new ones. The old religions lose credibility. The new ones offer answers that feel relevant again. The 20th century gave us even more examples. Scientology, founded by L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s, arrived in a world fascinated by psychology, technology, and self-improvement. Hubbard replaced ancient gods with concepts like thetans and engrams, giving his religion a scientific flavor. It was modern mythology disguised as therapy. It showed that religion doesn't disappear in an age of science. It simply dresses itself in the language of science. But religion isn't just about explanations. It's about belonging. It's about identity. Humans are social creatures, and religions have always provided community. They give people a shared language, shared rituals, and a shared story. When that community breaks down, when people feel isolated, unseen, or disconnected, they look for something new to belong to. That's why so many new religions begin not with ideas, but with people. charismatic figures who claim to have discovered the truth, prophets who say they've been chosen, visionaries who promise transformation. Consider Jim Jones and the People's Temple. It began as a church advocating racial equality and social justice, noble ideas that attracted sincere people. But it evolved into a cult centered around one man's authority. When Jones led his followers to mass suicide in Jonestown, it was a horrifying reminder of how the desire for belonging can turn into blind devotion. Yet even in tragedy, it revealed something about human nature. People will endure almost anything if they believe their suffering has meaning. Religion, at its core, is a meaning-making machine, and that machine never stops. Even when old religions die, they leave behind fragments, ideas, symbols, and emotional needs that can be recycled into new systems. Many of today's new spiritual movements are built from old parts. Modern paganism borrows from ancient European traditions. New Age spirituality borrows from Hinduism, Buddhism, and indigenous practices. Even atheistic movements sometimes mirror religious forms, with manifestos, rituals, and moral codes. The external details change, but the internal structure stays surprisingly consistent. Why? Because the structure works. It satisfies deep emotional and psychological needs. Every religion provides four basic things: a worldview, a moral framework, a sense of belonging, and a way to cope with death. When one religion fails to provide those, another one emerges to take its place. Look at how many Christian denominations exist today. Thousands. Each one formed because someone thought the others got it wrong. Every split represents another attempt to fix the story, to make it make sense again. This constant reinvention is proof that religion is not static. It's organic. It evolves like language, shaped by the people who speak it. Some might think that as society becomes more educated, religion will fade. But history doesn't support that idea. When we look at the last century, belief hasn't disappeared. It's diversified. People might reject organized religion, but they still describe themselves as spiritual. They still meditate, pray, seek signs, and talk about destiny. The labels have changed, but the impulse remains. Even modern secular ideologies often take on religious qualities. Think about nationalism, or the almost religious devotion some people show toward political leaders or social causes. They have creeds, symbols, moral codes, and enemies. They divide the world into good and evil, us and them. These are the psychological markers of religion, just applied to new subjects. Humans can't help it. We create religions because we create meaning. It's how we survive uncertainty. In times of fear or confusion, belief systems multiply like fireflies in the dark, each one offering a tiny light of hope. The rise of new religions is not a sign of ignorance. It's a sign of imagination. It shows that humans are never satisfied with simple answers. We keep questioning, reshaping, and reinterpreting the universe to make it emotionally bearable. Every new religion is a mirror, reflecting not divine truth but human need. The question then is not why religions keep being invented, but what each new one tells us about ourselves. Because every time a new belief emerges, it says something about the time and place that created it. It shows what people fear, what they long for, and what they feel is missing. In ancient times, people invented gods of rain because they feared drought. Today, people invent spiritual technologies because they fear meaninglessness. The objects of worship have changed, but the human longing beneath them hasn't. So when we ask, why do new religions keep being invented? The answer isn't just about gods or prophets. It's about us. It's about a species that cannot stop asking questions about its own existence. As long as humans search for meaning, as long as life feels uncertain, And as long as death remains a mystery, we will keep creating stories to make sense of it all. Some will call them religions. Others will call them philosophies. But in essence, they are all the same. Reflections of our endless attempt to make sense of being alive. When we look around today, we might think religion is fading. Church attendance is falling. Mosques, temples, and synagogues are losing members. Many people proudly call themselves non-religious. But if we look more closely, something interesting appears. Religion isn't disappearing, it's changing shape. It's moving online, blending with culture and taking on new forms that don't always look religious at first glance. Human beings never really stop believing. We just change what we believe in. In the 21st century, new religions are emerging faster than ever. Not because people are gullible, but because people are searching. We live in a time of rapid change, constant noise, and endless uncertainty. Technology connects us, but it also isolates us. Information is everywhere, but meaning is hard to find. The more complex life becomes, the more we crave something simple, something certain, a story that makes sense of it all. That craving is the birthplace of modern religion. Think about the internet. It's the most powerful communication tool humanity has ever built. But it's also a breeding ground for belief systems. Social media allows ideas to spread instantly, forming communities around shared convictions. In the past, it took generations for a religion to grow. Today, an online movement can gain millions of followers in a year. One of the clearest examples of this is QAnon. On the surface, it looks like a political conspiracy theory, a web of claims about secret plots and hidden powers. But beneath that surface, it behaves like a religion. It has prophets, anonymous figures who share mysterious revelations. It has sacred texts, the cryptic online posts that followers interpret like scripture. It has a dualistic worldview, light versus darkness, good versus evil. It promises salvation through awakening, a moment when truth will be revealed and justice will finally come. For believers, QAnon isn't just a theory. It's a cosmic story that gives meaning to chaos. It transforms fear into purpose and confusion into faith. That's the psychological function of religion, dressed in digital language. The same pattern appears in the rise of modern spirituality. As traditional churches decline, alternative spiritualities flourish. Astrology, tarot, energy healing, manifestation, all have returned to popularity, especially among younger generations. For many people, these systems offer something religion once did, a way to feel connected to something greater, without rigid authority. When someone says, "I'm spiritual but not religious," what they often mean is that they want transcendence without dogma. They want mystery without hierarchy. They want to believe that the universe has meaning, but they don't want anyone telling them exactly what that meaning is. That's why modern spiritual movements are so fluid. They borrow ideas from many sources: Buddhism, paganism, psychology, and even science, and combine them into personalized belief systems. One person might meditate like a Buddhist, talk about karma like a Hindu, and speak of energy fields like a physicist. Another might believe in guardian angels, and also follow astrology. It's belief a la carte, religion customized to fit the individual. This personalization reflects our broader culture. We live in an age of individualism, where self-expression is sacred. People don't want to join institutions. They want to build identities. So new religions don't ask for obedience. They invite exploration. The believer becomes both follower and creator, shaping their own sacred path. But this freedom comes with a price. When belief becomes entirely personal, it can lose its grounding in community and shared truth. Without a common story, Everyone lives in their own small universe of meaning. That's why online spiritual movements often turn into echo chambers, where ideas are never questioned, and alternative views feel like threats. The line between religion and conspiracy blurs because both are driven by the same psychological forces: uncertainty, fear, and the need for control. When the world feels chaotic, we invent systems that explain it. Sometimes those systems are noble and kind. Other times they're paranoid and destructive. But the motive is the same: to make the unpredictable predictable, to feel that someone, somewhere knows what's going on. This is why religion never truly dies. It evolves with the human condition. In ancient times, people feared nature. In the Middle Ages, they feared sin. Today, we fear meaninglessness. We fear being insignificant in a universe that doesn't care about us. Modern religions, from self-help cults to online movements, are attempts to fight that fear. Consider the rise of the wellness and manifestation industries. They promise control over life through positive thinking and energy alignment. They tell us that reality responds to our thoughts, that we can shape the universe by changing our mindset. It's comforting because it restores a sense of power in an uncertain world. But it's also deeply religious in structure. It offers faith, ritual, and salvation. Only now, the divine power isn't God, it's the universe. Even science has become a kind of faith for some. We speak of data as truth, of technology as salvation, and of progress as destiny. The transhumanist movement, for example, promises a future where humans merge with machines and live forever through artificial intelligence. It has its prophets, its promises of immortality, and its vision of paradise. Only this time, heaven is digital. It's fascinating how even our most rational dreams end up echoing ancient religious hopes. But why does this happen? Why do we keep turning our deepest emotions into new systems of belief? The answer lies in psychology. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. Our brains are wired to connect dots, even when no connection exists. It's a survival mechanism, an evolutionary trait that helped our ancestors make sense of danger and opportunity. If they saw movement in the bushes, assuming it was a predator was safer than assuming it was nothing. Over time, that instinct to detect meaning expanded from the physical world to the spiritual. We began to see intention behind everything: storms, sickness, death, luck. That instinct never disappeared. It just evolved into religion. And every time society changes, that instinct expresses itself differently. When old gods stop making sense, new ones appear. There's also a social element to all of this. Religion gives people community, a sense of belonging and shared purpose. In modern society, where loneliness is widespread, new religions serve as social glue. Online spiritual groups, self-help circles, and digital cults all provide the same emotional warmth that temples and churches once did. They offer validation, shared language, and a feeling of being part of something greater than oneself. This is why so many modern belief systems grow around charismatic figures. From religious leaders to motivational speakers and internet influencers, these individuals become living symbols of hope. People project onto them the qualities they wish to find: wisdom, strength, certainty. These figures often start with good intentions, but the power of belief can transform them into idols. The same psychological energy that built ancient temples now builds online empires. When we look at history, we realize that religion has always adapted to the communication tools of its time. The printing press spread Christianity faster than any missionary could. The radio carried evangelical voices across nations. And now social media has become the new pulpit. The sermon is live-streamed, the scripture is a tweet, and the congregation gathers in the comment section. The difference is that in the digital world, anyone can be a prophet. Anyone can declare a revelation, gather followers, and build a movement. Belief has become democratized and chaotic. Ideas evolve rapidly, collide, and mutate. Some bring comfort and connection. Others breed fear and division. But all of them come from the same human impulse: to find certainty in uncertainty. This is why, paradoxically, the modern age of reason is also an age of faith. It's not faith in gods, but faith in something. In systems, symbols, and stories that promise meaning. Whether it's astrology, activism, or artificial intelligence, every belief we invent is an attempt to answer the same timeless questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What happens when I die? The forms change, but the questions remain eternal. Some people believe that one day, as knowledge expands, religion will finally vanish, but that's unlikely. Knowledge and belief serve different purposes. Knowledge explains the world. Belief helps us live in it. No amount of scientific understanding can remove the human desire for connection, comfort, and cosmic significance. We can map the brain, explore the stars, and simulate the universe. Yet the emotional need to feel that our lives matter will still be there. And where that need exists, religion in some form will always follow. New religions are not proof of ignorance. They are proof of imagination, of humanity's ability to build meaning where none is given. Each new belief system is a mirror reflecting the hopes and fears of its time. When we invent gods, we are really inventing ourselves. Every new religion begins as a story about who we are, where we came from, and what we are meant to do. Some stories are told in sacred texts. Others appear in online forums, self-help books, or digital manifestos. The form doesn't matter. The story always serves the same purpose: to give life meaning in the face of uncertainty and death. And death, more than anything else, is the reason religions keep being invented. No matter how advanced we become, no matter how much we learn, death remains the one mystery we cannot solve. We can delay it, understand it biologically, even predict it, but we cannot escape it. And because we can't escape it, we keep trying to explain it. Every religion, new or old, is a form of rebellion against mortality. It's humanity's way of saying that life must mean more than a few decades between birth and nothingness. The Egyptian pharaohs built pyramids because they believed their souls would live forever among the gods. The followers of Jesus believed in resurrection. The Buddhists sought liberation from the endless cycle of death and rebirth. And today, transhumanists dream of uploading consciousness into machines to achieve digital immortality. It's the same longing, expressed through different symbols. If we strip away the rituals and theology, what remains is this: we invent religions because we cannot bear the thought of meaning ending with death. But death isn't the only reason. There's also identity, the need to know who we are. Religion gives people a sense of belonging to something bigger than the self. It defines not only our place in the cosmos, but our place in society. It tells us who we are, and just as importantly, who we are not. That's why religions often form strong boundaries between insiders and outsiders, believers and non-believers, the saved and the lost. Every time a society becomes fragmented, when old identities crumble, new religions appear to rebuild them. They gather the scattered pieces of cultural meaning and assemble them into something coherent again. When people feel lost, religions give them a name, a purpose, and a family. This is why new religions often arise during periods of social change, after revolutions, wars, or cultural shifts. When the world people knew disappears, they need new stories to anchor themselves. Think of the United States in the 1960s and 70s, a time of massive transformation, counterculture movements, and existential searching. Out of that era came dozens of new religions and spiritual experiments, the Hare Krishna movement, the Church of Scientology's growth, the rise of modern paganism, and even cults like Heaven's Gate and the Children of God. These were not random creations. They were responses to a society in transition, a generation questioning authority, tradition, and the meaning of freedom. The same process happens in every age. Whenever the ground beneath us shifts, we invent new myths to stand on. And in our current century, the ground is shifting faster than ever. Technology, globalization, climate change, artificial intelligence, all of these reshape our world at a pace no generation before has experienced. The old religious systems built for simpler times struggle to answer new questions. What does it mean to be human when machines can think? What does morality look like in a world driven by algorithms? What does life mean when we can alter our biology or live inside virtual worlds? These are not just philosophical questions, they are spiritual ones. And because traditional religions rarely address them in ways that satisfy modern minds, new belief systems are forming in their place. Some are explicit, like digital age mysticism, which combines technology with spirituality, treating data as divine and the internet as a living consciousness. Others are subtle, like the almost religious devotion some people show toward ideologies, brands, or movements. In a sense, we are surrounded by countless micro-religions, smaller, faster, more personal than ever before. Each one offers a sense of control in a world that feels uncontrollable. And control, perhaps, is the hidden core of all religion. When life feels chaotic, belief gives us a sense of order. When fate feels random, religion gives us purpose. When suffering feels meaningless, it gives us redemption. Even the most destructive cults begin with the desire for control. Control over fear, loneliness, or uncertainty. The tragedy is that this same desire can also make people surrender their freedom to anyone who promises certainty. That's why the line between comfort and control is so thin. The more uncertain the world becomes, the more people long for someone who says, "I have the truth." New religions often begin with that voice, the confident leader, the visionary thinker, the charismatic figure who offers simple answers to complex questions. They may start as movements of hope, but over time the structure of belief can become a trap. What begins as a search for meaning can turn into obedience. This, too, is part of the cycle. Religions are born from freedom and die from control. Once a belief system becomes too rigid, people start questioning it. They feel stifled, disconnected, or betrayed, and eventually they leave to form something new. Every major religion today was once a rebellion against a previous one. Buddhism arose as a critique of Hindu ritualism. Christianity began as a protest against religious legalism. The Protestant Reformation was a revolt against Catholic hierarchy. And now, new spiritualities are forming as a quiet rebellion against organized religion itself. This process never stops because the human heart never stops evolving. As our understanding of the world changes, so must the stories we tell about it. But there's also something hopeful about this endless reinvention. It means that belief is not a fossil. It's alive. It adapts, experiments, and reflects the age that creates it. Every new religion, no matter how strange or small, is a reminder that humans are still searching, still trying to make sense of existence in their own way. Some of these new religions will fade quickly. Others may grow into major world faiths. Most will leave behind fragments, ideas, rituals, and philosophies that quietly merge into the culture. Even when the movements themselves vanish, The emotions that gave birth to them remain, waiting for new forms to express themselves. It's easy to look at this and feel cynical, to see the endless birth and death of religions as proof that belief is an illusion. But there's another way to see it. Maybe the diversity of religions doesn't prove that humans are wrong. Maybe it proves that humans are creative, that we are constantly trying to translate something wordless and profound. Our sense of wonder, our fear of death, our longing for connection, into stories we can understand. In that sense, the invention of new religions is not a weakness. It's a testament to the depth of human imagination. It shows that even in a world of logic and science, we still recognize mystery. We still feel awe. We still sense that life, in all its complexity, is something more than data and biology. Whether we find that meaning in gods, in nature, in consciousness, or in each other, the act of searching itself is what defines us. Religion at its best is the language of that search, and maybe that's why we can never stop creating it. The truth is, no religion can ever be final because no generation ever faces the same questions in the same way. Each age must rewrite its own myths to match its own reality. What feels sacred today may seem irrelevant tomorrow, and what feels new today may someday become ancient tradition. So, new religions will keep being invented, not because people are lost, but because people are alive. Because as long as there are questions we cannot answer, fears we cannot quiet, and hopes we cannot let go of, we will keep building temples in one form or another, whether of stone, of words, or of code. And in that endless cycle of creation, perhaps we can see something beautiful, not divine truth but human truth, the truth that we are a species that dreams. We dream of meaning, of immortality, of belonging. We dream of gods who love us, of universes that listen, of destinies that matter. And even if those dreams are only stories, they are what make us human. So when someone asks why new religions keep being invented, the answer is simple. Because every time a human being looks at the vastness of existence and whispers, "Why?" a new story begins. And whether that story is told in a temple or through a screen, whether it speaks of gods or galaxies, it will always come from the same place, the timeless human need to find meaning in the mystery of being alive.